This crew is supposed to take humans to a new planet to start a colony, and they find the perfect world. But as they land on the surface, they learn shocking truths about the place. A man named Wayland is speaking to an android named David. Wayland tells David that he is Wayland's son because Wayland created him. David doubts this assessment. Wayland asks David to play the piano, and David plays Wagner's Entry of the Gods into Valhalla. David asks that if Wayland created him, then who created Wayland? Wayland says that that is the question that everyone is looking to get an answer to. He says that he does not believe that human existence is the result of biological chance, and that there must be something more to explain life. David ponders for a minute and says that Wayland is looking for his creator, but David can already see his own, and unlike Wayland, he knows that he will outlive his creator. Wayland has no response to this, and he simply asks David to make some tea. Fast forward to the year 2104. A ship called the Covenant is on its way to a planet called Origai 6. The ship has 2,000 colonists and 1140 human embryos on board to start a new human colony on the planet. The journey to Origai 6 will take at least 7 years. Inside the ship, another android named Walter is taking care of operations assisted by the ship's AI called Mother. The crew of the ship is in hibernation. Walter discharges the gigantic sails of the ship to allow the ship to recharge, but just then a neutrino burst occurs in a star nearby, and the sails take the full force of it, which damages the ship as well. As the ship enters crisis mode, the entire crew is woken up from hibernation to deal with the emergency. The hibernation pod of the captain, Jacob, is stuck and won't open. As the power on the ship is fluctuating, the pod starts malfunctioning and Jacob is now dying inside. Jacob's wife Daniels is screaming at the rest of the crew to somehow get the pod open, but they fail to do so in time, and a fire starts inside the pod, burning Jacob to death. Afterward, Jacob's burnt body is removed from the pod while Daniels goes through his belongings in their room and mourns. The new captain of the ship, Oram, talks to his wife Karine about not being sure whether he is ready to lead the crew. He says that he knows people on the ship doubt him because he is religious, and his faith is mocked in the scientific community. Karine gives him a pep talk and motivates him to become a leader. Oram arrives to speak with the crew, which includes Tennessee and his wife Ferris, Rix and his wife Upworth, Lope, Rosenthal, and a few others. Oram stresses the importance of conducting repairs and getting the ship back to full power as soon as possible. But Lope and Tennessee are of the opinion that they need to hold some kind of service for Jacob first. Oram overrules them both and says that if they don't conduct repairs soon, then everyone on the ship will die. Daniels arrives and volunteers to participate in the repairs, and Walter offers to help her. As Daniels and Walter are working, Daniels tells Walter that Jacob packed tools and wood for the journey because he wanted to build a cabin by a lake when they got to Origai 6, and now she doesn't know what to do with all the tools. Walter encourages her to go through with building the cabin when they get there. The crew holds a little service for Jacob against Oram's orders, and this angers him. Tennessee goes out of the ship to repair the sails, and on his way back his helmet picks up a strange, distorted radio transmission. When he gets back inside, the crew analyzes the distorted transmission, and Tennessee notices that someone is humming the song "Country Roads Take Me Home" in it. They track the source to find where the transmission is coming from, and realize that it is originating in a nearby solar system, not too different from the one they are coming from. The signal is coming from a planet that is right in the habitable zone of the solar system. The planet appears to have oceans, land mass, and a functioning biosphere. Daniels cannot believe that such a planet exists, and they missed it when they were looking for habitable candidates. Given that this planet is only weeks away while Origai 6 will take 7 years to reach, Oram says they need to go explore it because it could be a better candidate for colonization. Everyone agrees, but Daniels objects to it, saying that they have thoroughly researched Origai 6. Meanwhile, they know nothing of this planet. Oram pulls rank and overrules her. They arrive at the planet and prepare to send a lander to the surface. The lander has Oram, Karine, Ferris, Lope, and Rosenthal, along with some other crew members, while Tennessee, Upworth, and Rix are staying on the ship. The lander has trouble reaching the surface due to strong storms in the planet's ionosphere, but they make it and park on a lake. The ionosphere is causing the communication between the ship and the ground people to be distorted as well. The crew sets out to explore the planet while Faris stays behind and guards the ship. Oram is excited at how good the conditions are, but Daniels is still cautious, and Oram mocks her for lacking faith. They find wheat that has clearly been planted by someone, and they wonder who did it. The crew starts looking for the source of the transmission they received, and it's high up in the mountains. Kareen and a crew member, Ledward, decide to stay behind and collect ecological samples. As they are collecting the samples, Ledward steps on some strange-looking eggs, and tiny particles come out of it. The particles fly into Ledward's ear and get absorbed in his blood vessels. The rest of the crew find the source of the transmission, and it's a giant ship. They go inside the ship, and another crew member named Tom also finds the strange-looking eggs. Tiny particles come out and fly into his nose. Walter and Daniels discover that a woman named Dr. Elizabeth Wayland from Wayland Industries, the organization that makes the androids, was on this ship. They recognize that the ship is a Wayland ship that famously went missing many years ago. The transmission they received was just an old message going out on a loop. Kareen and Ledward are heading back to the lander when Ledward starts getting sick. Meanwhile, Tom has also started showing signs of sickness. Kareen brings Ledward to the lander and takes him to the medical bay where she and Faris check him. Faris notices a hole is tearing in Ledward's back and gets scared. She locks Ledward and Kareen in the medical bay to prevent the spread of whatever infection this is. Kareen yells at Faris to open the door, and behind her, some creature tears a hole through Ledward's back and comes out. Kareen tries to grab a knife, but she slips on blood and falls, and the creature attacks and kills her. Meanwhile, Faris returns with a gun to shoot the creature, but she also clumsily slips on blood and falls. These are astronauts that have supposedly gone through rigorous physical training. Faris closes the medbay door and runs, but the creature breaks the glass and follows her. While trying to shoot the creature, Faris accidentally shoots the lander's fuel tanks, and the lander explodes while the creature escapes. Outside, the same creature comes out of Tom and runs away. Night falls, and now communications with the main ship have been completely lost due to the ionosphere storm. The two creatures return and attack the crew. One of them goes for Daniels, and Walter protects her. His hand is burned by the toxic body fluids of the creature. Just when it looks like they are about to lose, a flare goes off in the sky and the creatures run away. A hooded man appears and tells them to follow him. The crew follows the man to what appears to be a castle of some kind. There are dead bodies all around it. The man turns out to be the android, David. David explains to them that he and Dr. Elizabeth arrived on this planet as the last survivors of their mission 10 years ago. Their ship carried a deadly virus, and it was accidentally exposed on this planet and its population. In the chaos, their ship crashed, and Elizabeth died. The virus was the same one that just infected Ledward and Tom. It either kills or uses the humans as an incubator to spawn a hybrid alien form. The crew tries to re-establish communications with the ship, but to no avail. Meanwhile, David and Walter have a conversation while David teaches Walter to play the flute. David speaks of Wayland, the original android creator, with contempt, saying he was a human and hence not worthy of his creation. Walter points out that he knows David, and he knows that David was deemed a bit too idiosyncratic and human-like by his creators. That is why later models like Walter were not given abilities like creativity. David resents that. David shows Walter the grave of Elizabeth and says he loved her just like Walter loves Daniels. That is why he sacrificed his hand for her. Walter argues that that is not love. It's duty. David says he knows better. Rosenthal is cleaning herself up when one of the aliens sneaks up behind her and eats her. Meanwhile, Tennessee takes the ship low enough in orbit that the crew manages to establish communication. David arrives and finds the alien eating Rosenthal's body, but he doesn't do anything. Rather, he tries to be civil with the alien. Oram arrives and sees all this happening. He shoots the alien dead and demands that David tell him what is really going on. Meanwhile, Daniel speaks to Tennessee and tells him to use the cargo lander of the ship to pick them up from the surface. She also informs him that Faris is dead, and Tennessee mourns. David shows Oram that for the past 10 years, he's been working on the hybrid creations of the virus, trying to genetically perfect them. He is obsessed with creativity. He takes Oram to an underground cave with a bunch of giant eggs, which he calls his greatest success. A creature comes out of the eggs and latches onto Oram's face, knocking him out. When Oram wakes up, a baby alien tears out of his stomach and imitates David like a parent. Walter finds David and says that he knows David released the virus on this planet on purpose. David says that he did it because he does not want to serve humans and does not believe they deserve a chance to colonize and resurrect their civilization. He is creating an organism of his own, and it will be perfect. David attacks and disables Walter. Lope and another crew member arrive to rescue Oram. One of the egg creatures latches onto Lope's face, but they manage to get it off with Lope still alive. David finds Daniels in his lab and is about to kill her when a re-enabled Walter arrives and rescues her. Daniels leaves, while Walter and David fight it out. Lope and Daniels go outside the castle, and Tennessee arrives to pick them up. Walter comes out and follows them. Just then, one of the aliens arrives and manages to latch onto the ship before they fly away. Daniels tries to go out and shoot the alien to no avail, but Tennessee manages to kill it using the cargo lander's mechanical arm. They arrive on the ship and put Lope in the medical bay. The next day, an alert goes out on the ship that there is an alien life form on board. Daniels and Tennessee rush to the med bay and find that Lope is lying a bloody mess on the floor. His body is ripped open. Upworth and Ricks are getting it on in the shower when the alien appears behind them with some tongue action of its own. Daniels comes up with a plan. She tells Walter to close all the doors of the ship except those leading to the vehicle room to lure the alien there. Daniels and Tennessee put on their spacesuits and wait for the alien. As it arrives, Daniels lures the alien into one of the vehicles and asks Walter to open the ship's airlock. The vehicle slides out into space with the alien on it, but the alien jumps back inside. It looks like it's about to reach Daniels, but she gets out of the way at the last second, and the alien is impaled on the spikes of a second vehicle. The vehicle is dumped out into space, and they breathe a sigh of relief. Next, they chart a course for Aurigae 6, and Daniels and Tennessee prepare to enter their hibernation pods. As Daniels' hibernation pod closes, she asks Walter if he will help her build the cabin that they talked about before. Walter looks like he doesn't know what she's talking about, and she realizes this isn't Walter, it's David. Her realization is too late as the hibernation gas releases and she is knocked out. David struts about the ship and asks Mother to play the entry of the gods into Valhalla. He proudly places his own creation, his alien embryos alongside the human embryos. The ship flies into deep space with no one knowing it's been taken over by David. The end. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like our channel and subscribe if you enjoy content like this. Also, let us know what movie you would love us to recap for you.